Dr. Butcher. So I first knew of him through Cool G Rap stuff. So how much before you were meeting him, getting to work with him and know him, were you like, oh, this is the dude from Road to the Riches? Or how, like, what was it for you being in Queens at the time?
So again, the area of Queens where I lived, every kid, all of my friends in some way expressed themselves through hip hop. I went to school with MCs, DJs, breakers, graffiti writers. And so again, hip hop was just one of the things that like inner city kids, predominantly Black, but also Latino, were immersing themselves in. And I remember I had one friend, my boy Marcel Thomas. Marcel, what up? I'm gonna send you the link to this video so you could hear your shout. But Marcel Thomas, I remember called me one day, or maybe this was in person, but I do remember distinctively him telling me about this guy named Dr. Butcher. Yo, have you heard of Dr. Butcher? And the reason he referenced him was because Dr. Butcher lived in Corona, Queens, and that's where Marcel lived. Jackson Heights is the next town over. And that's where like Psycho Les and I grew up in, that neighborhood. But anyway, so I remember Marcel mentioning Dr. Butcher to me, and I heard the name on records, Coogee Rap Records specifically. But when Marcel referenced him, I remember he referenced him in a way where like I kind of took it personally. And what I mean by that is Marcel was like, yo, have you heard of Dr. Butcher? Yo, he's dope. And like my friends tell me that like he's better than you, Rob. And so when he told me that, I was like, man, like fuck that. Like if there's no way this kid is better than me, because I was like definitely the best DJ, at least in Jackson Heights. Like I was the most technically sound. You know, I was studying DJs like Cash Money, learning all their routines. And in my head is probably what I should say. I felt I was the best DJ because I could do everything that the pioneers of the art in that era, the late 80s, could do. Few months went by. By now, I'm good friends with JuJu from the Beatnuts. Psycho Les isn't DJing anymore. He's producing with JuJu. They're forming this crew or this pair called the Beatnuts and collaborating with artists like A Tribe Called Quest, Jungle Brothers. JuJu for me was like my first hip hop celebrity. I remember JuJu would come to my house and I would feel like the president came to my house because that's JuJu. Like he's in music videos and he hangs out in recording studios with the Jungle Brothers. I never told him that, but like, yeah, like I saw him as this like God almost, but he was a friend because he came up with less producing. And one day, JuJu was at my house. He's like, yo, man, I need to introduce you to this kid, Dr. Butcher, Rob. So now this guy's name pops up again. And JuJu lived in Corona, Queens, where Dr. Butcher's from. So I'm like, I didn't take it in the competitive way that I took it when Marcel referenced Dr. Butcher, because I looked up to JuJu. So I'm like, if JuJu's telling me I should go to this guy's house, maybe I need to check my ego and go to this guy's house and see what he's about. So I was like, yeah, I'll go with you to his house sometime. Like, just let me know when. A few days go by. I forget I have the conversation with JuJu, and JuJu calls me. And JuJu's like, yo, Rob, yo, man, I've been practicing. Man, I'm so happy. Yo, I'm going to put my phone down to the speaker. I want you to hear the shit that I've been coming up with over the last few hours. So he puts his phone to the speaker. No smartphones back then, so it's not like he could text me a video or anything like that. Puts the phone down to the speaker, and then I hear who I think is JuJu cutting up "Welcome to the Terror Dome" by Public Enemy. But the shit that I heard come out of that phone, to this day, as I'm talking to you, I'm getting goosebumps because I was hearing scratching and juggling in a way that I never heard Cash Money do it, or Steve D, or Aladdin, or Cutmaster Swift, or any of the DJs that I looked up to that I felt I was as good as. Because again, I was learning all their routines, copying them, and thinking, oh, yo, I'm dope because I could do Cutmaster Swift's routine. I'm dope because I could scratch like Aladdin. I'm dope because I could mess up Rock the Bells exactly the way Cash Money fucks it up, you know? Juju gets back on the phone and I'm like, yo, Juju, like, what? Like, dude, in hours, like you sound that way? And he was like, yeah, Rob, yo, man, I'm so happy. Yo, I'm gonna go practice. And like he hangs up. He's like, I'm gonna go practice some more. And he hangs up. And I remember feeling stupid. I was like, how is it that Juju sounds so unique? And like he wasn't showing me how he could do Cash Money's pump me up routine. He wasn't showing me how he could do Aladdin's Rock the Bells routine. He was tearing up Welcome to the Terror Dome. I never heard a DJ cut that record. And what he was doing to that record was just so different and unique from what I've heard any DJ do before that. And how is it that he managed to do that in just hours of practice? Like I remember I hung up the phone and I felt stupid. Like, what am I doing wrong? Later that night, he called me dying laughing. He was like, yo, that wasn't me. That was Dr. Butcher. He's like, I was playing a joke on you. I was like, what? I was like, that was Dr. Butcher. I was like, dude, take me to his house tomorrow. I got to go to his house tomorrow. And he was like, yeah, all right. And tomorrow came and I met up with Juju and he took me to Dr. Butcher's house. And I walked in and I remember like for a couple of minutes, they were both just laughing at me because I thought it was Juju. And, you know, I'm excited. I have my records, but the records that I had were, again, I had like Steve D's 5 minutes of funk mega mix that he had like his friends routine on. I had Rock the Bells because Aladdin cut Rock the Bells. I had Pump Me Up because Cash Money cut Pump Me Up. So in my head, I thought, well, Dr. Butcher's going to be impressed by me because I can do what all the dope, badass DJs can do right now. So I got on first and I did like all of these routines that belong to these other DJs. And I got off like feeling confident, like, yo, I did everything exactly the way they do it. And then Dr. Butcher got on and then he threw on Impeach the President, a break record by the Honey Drippers. And he murdered this song, man. Like the stuff again, like I laugh because it's like unbelievable almost, like, but I'm witnessing it in person. I'm not seeing it on a VHS tape or hearing it on the radio. I'm seeing this guy in his bedroom do things in his own unique way, unlike Cash Money, unlike Aladdin, unlike Steve D, unlike Cutmaster Swift, like Dr. Butcher. And I remember he got off and I was standing, but I felt as if I knelt down. You know what I mean? Like I felt humbled is what I'm trying to say. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, just could you take me on as your student? And he was like, yeah, of course. And you know, he turned like I remember hearing about him for the first time through Marcel and like not liking him because Marcel referenced him in like a competitive way. Like, I think he's better than you. And then I'm at this guy's house and he's the most humble, down to earth, nice dude. And I remember like just the humility I felt. I also felt stupid for not liking him before I even met him. You know what I mean? And he just embraced me with open arms and took me under his wing. And I remember I was like, yo, Drew. I was like, yo, Drew, do you know Steve D? Because like Steve D at the time was like the illest DJ. I was like, yo, do you know Steve D? He's like, yeah, I've practiced with him. But he said it in a way where like, I practiced with him, but like, he's just another DJ, Rob. Like, and you could be what the way you see Steve, you could be that too, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be starstruck by anybody. You know, these are all humans. And I remember he told me, he was like, yo, God gave you a talent as well. Just like he gifted Aladdin and Cash Money and Cutmaster Swift and Stevie with these amazing abilities that you look up to, God gifted you as well. And I'm just going to help you tap into it. And, you know, within 2 years of meeting him, I won my DMC competition. You know what I mean? So I owe Dr. Butcher so much, man. And I was texting with him earlier today. We had a really cool conversation. Um, and so he became my second mentor. And he means the world to me. Like I'll kill for that guy. You know what I mean? Because um he he didn't have to. And this was a time when DJs were very secretive with what they knew. They didn't want anyone to know their techniques or their specialties. And he literally taught me everything he knew. He taught me everything he knew, everything. And I remember Drew at the time had this, he was dating this girl named Keisha, who he's married to now, right? So, you know, Keisha would be at his house every day, but I didn't give a fuck. I would go to his house and like get in the way of their quality time. And I remember she would storm out of the room and Drew would be like, ah, man, don't worry about her. Yo, let's practice. And we would practice and like, it was just dope because honestly, I'm not sure I would have done that for me if I were him. Like my girl's here, you're showing up at my house wanting to practice. I'm with my girl, bro. Like, come back tomorrow, or I'll tell you when I'm free. He would like let her storm out of the room and fucking humor me for 2 hours, you know, and then I'd leave and this girl would be waiting in the living room, you know, like Dr. Butcher, bro. Like that guy, man, like, yeah, like I owe him a lot for sure.
So that leads to a host of questions too. Um, one, a little bit chronologically, from what I've always seen, believe, and understood, New York in particular tends to be very xenophobic. So I'm very intrigued as to what allowed you to see the brilliance of a Cash Money or an Aladdin, given they're from Philadelphia and LA, in a way that a lot of people they only care about New York. How did you say, you know what, Cash Money's from Philly, but this dude is amazing. Aladdin's from LA, but he's amazing. What enabled you to do that, do you think?
I just think I'm like a sponge and anything that I gravitate to and like, I want to maximize what I can learn from it. You know, people that knew me back then will remember how skinny I was. For example, I weighed 169 pounds wet, and now I'm like 210, you know? So I use that analogy to say when I started working out and lifting weights in my 30s, I wanted to know everything about working out, everything, diet, how many times a week I should work out, the the difference between working out with cables and free weights. Like I would buy books. I have a huge ass encyclopedia of bodybuilding, authored by Arnold Schwarzenegger, sitting next to my bed. Um, I anything that you put in front of me that I will gravitate to and embrace and think, wow, this is really cool. And I need to learn about this thing. I immerse myself in 1000%. So whether Cash Money was from Philly, whether Aladdin was from LA, that didn't matter to me. What mattered was these guys can do something that I can't do that I need to figure out.
Okay. And then tied directly into that, what did Dr. Butcher, how did he prepare you, develop you to where you were able to win the DMC and you were able to like really elevate, graduate, really kind of just exponentially improve from where you were?
The main thing Dr. Butcher did for me was instill in me confidence and a sense of trust in my creativity that was untapped. I, up until the point that I met Dr. Butcher, thought in copying what Cash Money, Aladdin, Cutmaster Swift, Jazzy Jeff did, I was good. But I didn't realize that those guys were dope because they were creative. I thought, well, I'm dope because I can copy what they can do. And Dr. Butcher helped me understand the difference between copying and mimicking, emulating, and tapping into your unique, divine creativity. And that's how he would talk to me. Like today in 2022, social media and all that stuff, like if you picked up your phone right now and scrolled within a minute or two, you probably encounter some sort of meme that talked about, having faith in yourself, some type of affirmation, for example. Those are real popular right now. When I was 19 and I met Dr. Butcher, I didn't know what an affirmation was. I didn't know what spirituality was, but he was already into all that stuff. So like before we would practice, he would be like, yo, Rob, here, man, come sit down next to me. Yo, I printed this from my job. Like, check this out. And it would be an affirmation about money. But someone listening to me might think, well, what does money have to do with DJing? And it wasn't necessarily that Drew was trying to instill in me how to think positive about money. It was just, yo, read what this is saying with regards to mindset, And like shit like that, he would just plant seeds and I embraced it. Like, again, I was into psychology. I was into like the mind and all that stuff. So I think I was the right person for that. Someone else you talk to in that way and they may just close up and not really hear it or receive it. But because I was into psychology and the mind and all that already, and just really didn't understand it, really, it's like it was put in front of me and it clicked like, oh, a word. Okay. Like this is talking about money, but I could apply this to my DJing, having the right mindset, believing in myself, trying, not giving up, thinking outside of the box. And I think, to kind of tie it together with money, I think that's why I'm able to say today I'm talking to you from an apartment that I own outright, that I'm not paying a mortgage on. I drive a 2022 Expedition. I've had the economic success that I've had because I've been creative about how to generate that money through DJing. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of that was instilled in me in those practice sessions with Dr. Butcher, And I don't necessarily think that, I don't know if he was like, that was his intention with me, but that's what happened. It was talking to him, vibing with him. There'll be days where I would go to his house and I would go with the intention of practicing, but we would just sit and talk for 2 hours and then I'd leave. But I'd leave feeling inspired to come back home, practice, and sure enough, I would come up with routines just from talking to him. So yeah, like the way he prepared me and taught me went beyond taking my hand and moving it on the record and saying, this is a baby scratch, the way my brother taught me, for example. Like my brother taught me the technique and the mechanics. Dr. Butcher taught me how to apply the technique and the mechanics in a way that reflected my creativity and was an expression of my personal energy, you know? So yeah, that guy is special, man. And I take that into what I'm doing now with my DJ school. I have a DJ school, Brolic Army DJ school. It's an online school. Big shout to all the Brolic Army students out there watching this. And in my tutorials, and even in the way I interact with students that are members at the school on social media, via email, I channel Dr. Butcher when I talk to them. So I always tell them, here are the mechanics. Yes. All right. This is how you execute this particular technique, but don't settle there. Like, now have fun with it. Now personalize what I'm teaching you, because that's really the point behind what we do as DJs. It's not to go viral or to win a competition. That's the byproduct of you expressing yourself honestly and creatively and making an impact on people. The byproduct of that is going viral, is winning the battle, but don't do it to win the battle or to go viral. Do it to express yourself. Do it to have fun. Do it to tap into your higher self, the God part of who you are. And all of that philosophy was instilled in me by Dr. Butcher, for sure.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap, written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.